Hello, welcome to the Sovereign Magazine show. I'm Nicole George, the CEO and founder of Sovereign. Our show is a transformational experience where conscious conversations meet embodied wisdom. Each episode invites visionary healers, thought leaders, and change makers to share their journeys of awakening, offering our listeners practical tools and soul-stirring insight to reclaim their inner authority. Today we have Efrat Shokef with us today. Excuse me, it's very early for me, so my brain's not quite awake yet. Why don't you introduce yourself, my love?
So I'm Efrat Shokef. I'm a mother to three spiritually aware teens. And I guess that's part of the journeys that brought me to explore who are spiritually aware children, as we will discuss today. I'm an author of two award-winning books: The Promise We Made, Three Universal Soul Promises We Made to Our Children, and Universal Promises, Foundations for Creating the Conditions Our Children Need to Thrive in Times of Transformation, offering a roadmap for foundations that are kind of downloaded, but make sense, from anchoring to earth and into a physical, but weaving also our spiritual selves and soul's journey into a coherent journey for our souls, a roadmap for raising children, seeing what promises we made to them at the soul level, and kind of also to ourselves. I am a shamanic energy healing practitioner, and I serve children, teens, parents, families worldwide.
Yes. So if you missed on the last episode, what is spiritually aware parenting? Definitely go back and get some foundational information about all of this. But today we're going to be talking about children, spiritually aware children, and who are they, which I'm super excited about because Efrat gave me the language for my child and my type of parenting. I didn't know this existed until we met. And I'm super excited to learn more about it and this unique way of parenting that I didn't know how to name. So let's dive into it. What is it? Who
So
is
I
this
think that
spiritually aware child?
before we two lines of thought that I think we need to hold when we try to explore who are those spiritually aware children. First, the problem was labeling. As soon as we
Yeah.
label, we narrow. And I kind of like the spiritually aware children. They're aware, and they can be aware, spiritually aware in many different forms, as we'll discuss in a few minutes. But just hold that in mind, that we don't want to say, "Oh, my child is spiritually aware," and then they're not a lot of other things, which they are or can be. So just holding that in mind in terms of the labels, they really help us mentally, but they're not always serving us as we really want to create those conditions for our children to go and be their true self, whether they are more spiritually aware or spiritually aware in another form. So that's one thing in mind. I think another foundational questions for so many things in life is, what is spirituality? What defines
Mhm.
a spiritual person? So there are a lot of theories of you have to spirituality is something about moral, or spirituality is something about a process that you develop. That means a newly born child or a 1 year old child or a 3 year old child cannot be spiritual or spiritually aware, depending on the wording we use, because it's a process of development. It's a process in which you grow in your abilities and then you transcend, or at least thrive to transcend, or find your unity and oneness. So that's a process. And such a definition immediately takes all the children out of that equation. They cannot be spiritual. So there are many
Mm.
definitions. And there is one definition that I think, um, for me, um, places that kind of, proof maybe that children are spiritual beings, is that definition that relates to direct experience.
Mhm.
And we can talk about a direct experience in nature, a direct experience of our energy field, a direct experience of profound wisdoms that surprises us, a direct experience of the expression of love or joy or playfulness that we witness with children. There's so many pieces of direct experience. And there is also those more profound, but not more significant. It's like more the type of proof that gets us excited, but it doesn't mean that other small experiences are not just as important and powerful for those individuals. All the telepathic communication we witness with children and near death experiences that children have that give us examples of divine experiences happening in childhood. So we have a lot more witness. There's a lot of more data, maybe that's the right word to use about those experiences. They're documented. People are researching them in various ways. We have books, we have information. It's become definitely NDEs and spiritual transformative experiences in childhood. But when we look at that definition of spirituality as direct experience, then we can start talking about children being spiritual because their love, their kindness, their compassion, their connection to plants, to animals, their connections to the soil, their ability to be in the now, something we as adults work so hard to cultivate and return to. Also, species when you're looking at an adult walking a spiritual path and trying to expand who they are and walk their true self and start communicating with their guidance and connect to their energy field and connect to nature and become more present in the now. All those processes, we are working really, really hard to find ourselves
Mhm.
and expand ourselves. Go to the little ones, it's there. Go to
Mhm.
growing ones, it's there. So that's when we talk about spiritually aware children. In many ways, I think it's all children have that potential. And now it depends, do we nourish those innate ability to connect, to love, to be kind, to know their own truth, to expand, to share wisdom, uh, and be those beautiful beings that they are, or do we not nourish them? And that awareness
Mm.
for one child, it will be about nature. I once worked with a child that was obsessed about recycling, and his family was really, really challenged because he mirrored everything that was that he perceived as wrong in society without even knowing that this is what he's mirroring to them. Um, and that family had to shift with that child because he came with a big mission, a very clear mission. So that awareness may point to different directions, and we can explore that some more. But I hope that gives the background. So, how do we view what is spiritual awareness? How do we know if our child is spiritual aware? And it can go also into psychic abilities, which we can explore as well. Um, as, and I think what's important is that as we notice those pieces with our children, a whole spectrum of abilities and missions and beauty, true joy and love that they express by their being, inviting us to recall and imitate them instead of them imitating all the wrongs we collected in our lives. It opens a door to what we talked about in our last episode, that shared journey of parents and children, because we are all becoming aware that we are more than those physical boundaries and emotions and our mental processes, which are very strong in the times we're living in. We become aware of our energy. We become aware of our soul's journey, and I think that's a reflection of the invitation because we see they're spiritually aware. We look at it. We understand there is a direct experience happening in front of our eyes, and there is nothing more magical than that understanding of your own child being so connected. It's inspiring. It opens our hearts to magic, to wonder, to be in awe. And then we can set on our shared journey and start listening to each other and the invitations we
Yeah, I 100%. I mean, I have so many things I want to say.
offer.
I completely agree with you. I'm in awe of my daughter all the time. And I often um, get nervous thinking about her going off to college and stuff because I'm so incredibly attached to her, not from the standpoint that mo most people think. Not from the sense like, oh, my baby, I don't want her to go. Of course, I have that. But it's from the standpoint of she helps me grow so incredibly deeply, deeper than I think I would do on my own because of her level of awareness and just how she views the world. She views the world very differently. And so she challenges me, and I love that about our relationship, and I love the dynamics that we have. And one of the things you were talking about is nourishment and nourishing who they truly are and things like that. And I would love to share with the audience that I didn't know that the type of parenting I preferred was something different than traditional. I just knew I didn't want to be parented how I was parented. And I was looking for nature and things like that. And so we, through sixth grade, we brought her up in Waldorf education, which is very nature-based and, feelings-based and not a lot of media and things like that. And I think it did help her be able to stay present and all of those types of things. And now she's in a traditional school, and children say to her, Where did you learn to think like this? Like how do you think like that?" And they notice that she is different, and they notice that our house is different. We don't have TV on, like we just don't have it. And but they love coming here because they always say that it's peaceful, it's quiet, it's the they don't need those things. They just need each other to talk. And so it's very fun to witness. But what I wanted to go back to with the nourishment conversation, so I kind of wanted to set that foundation, is when we are deciding as parents, we have to decide to send them to school or whether they will have, TV and all of these types of things. How do you recommend to your clients to nourish a spiritually aware child? Like, do you take the cues from them? Do you take the cues from yourself? Like, where does that begin?
I think it begins with our understanding, which is not an easy one, that that child shows us, which means we are able to dance with them the dance they need to be dancing. We homeschool. We started in the Waldorf education system here as well. And it was great for the first years. It was also when I was recovering from my car crash, and we couldn't homeschool at that point. We didn't have that idea in mind that we could we homeschool. Everybody can homeschool. That's my knowing now. Um, but at some point, even that nurturing environment was not nurturing anymore. So that also depends on which Waldorf school, and there's a lot of differences. But we were looking at it, and the call to go into homeschooling was a dance of from both sides. We were abroad for a year. The girls were not in school. We had an amazing year. We came back. They wanted to go back to school because of their friends. And along that year, they were suffering. It was so horrible. I was keep saying, why don't you just come back home and we'll figure it out? But they didn't want to. But at the end of that year, one of them said, I'm not going back to school. School is not nurturing. I'm not expanding. I'm contracting. Now, spiritually aware children have different traits, or so it's a lot about knowing that you can and then looking at what your child needs. And that's true for every type of parenting and every type of child, regardless. What I witnessed with a lot of spiritually aware children is that they need to be in an environment that can see their sensitivity, and many of them are sensitive. It's not one-on-one like highly sensitive people, but it is very close in many situations. Think about every spiritual person that you know. As we grow in our spirituality, we can be by ourselves. We need less people. We need a clean, energetic environment. We need more quiet. We need to listen to ourselves. So just as we adults go through those processes, they come with those needs.
Mhm.
But the way the social and educational system works in the West, and it's different in different locations, and you have a global audience, so it's different. But generally, it's about a lot of kids, a lot of noise, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and we can go on. So these conditions do not nourish. They don't nourish, but we can talk about spiritually or children, but they don't nourish anyone. They nourish those who cannot get food, or education is their key to their future. Schools are important. Education is important. It's an important system. It has its value for many people, but not for all children. And it's
Mhm.
kind of stuck in
Mhm.
the past. It's
Yes.
kind of stuck in the past. Like overall, again, some more, some less. It's and when we look at about those children offering high frequency, a teacher stands in front of them in class, and they are and something happened, and she needs to replace another teacher that couldn't show up, but she can't say the truth because like she keeping that other teacher's privacy, for example, or another child's privacy, but she's also not saying the truth. Those kids pick up on that. They have sensors for everything.
Mhm.
The level of truth required is so high. Their level of alignment is high. So as a parent, recognizing what is activating your kids,
Mhm.
asking questions about what happens. A kid can be really frustrated from witnessing their teacher, an adult they're supposed to be looking up to, and that is supposed to teaching them how to be human and managing the human world, lie and not
Mhm.
saying the truth, like, white lies. That's lying. There's black and white in those pieces. So and they don't understand the social complexity of not sharing somebody else's secret. I'm just, just as one example of many examples we can give. Ask where you're placing your child, and a lot of people have to work, not have. I'm flexible. I can work from home. I could bring my girls and allow that. Not everybody can. In many countries it's not even allowed. So look at what choices do you have, and and be really conscious and in awareness that you choose that space where your child can be safe, and safe not just from bullying or violence, safe in terms of uh, the energetic environment where it's nurtured, when it's nice. I think that's why a lot of people are being drawn to the valve system. Although it too, when you look at the essence of this theory is beautiful, the application in many places is not aligned. Even if we look, just
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
the stories being told,
Yes. Yep.
trying to help the kids uh, learn life. I'm trying to be really delicate here.
It's
And
okay.
there's violence, there's violence, there is killing, there is a horrible house that they grow up in. There's so many pieces. Those spiritually aware children, they come knowing unity, they come knowing love, come knowing compassion and kindness. They have no judgment to others, and you shatter their world with a story being told.
Mhm.
So, and it's really hard for us as parents to we think teachers know, and this is a good kindergarten, and this is a good school, and we want the best for them, and we try to fit in our environment. Spiritually aware children are not here to fit in. None
Mhm.
of us are. But I understand why fitting in can be helpful in a certain environment and in many layers, but we're not here to fit in. And spiritually aware children, each one of them brings forth a really powerful gift that is of high frequency and expanded consciousness. And as we nurture those abilities at home, so even if you have to send them to school, clean the energy of your home, cultivate a shared communication, gives them tools on how to work with their energy, how to protect their field, how to deal with various situations through their soul's work, shamanic journeying, meditations, light washes, earth work, earth paintings. There's so many tools available. I know I offer a lot for free on my website, but there are so many other tools, and there are so many books for spiritually aware children today, and really a lot of resources that I think are proof to how many kids are out there needing resources that didn't exist and their moms created them. So make sure your child gets that the tools they need and to nourish themselves on their own, and the message that they are beautiful as they are, and place to express, cleanse, be held, feel safe, not just safe in terms of a safe home, safe to be who they are, really, really who they are, with all their gifts. And often they have psychic abilities, and they are seers, and they are wisdom keepers, and some of them are just, I worked recently with this really, really sensitive, spiritually aware child. She barely talked where she talks where she feels comfortable, but she doesn't talk where she doesn't feel comfortable. And wherever she comes to, she just sits. That's like a ritual. So she sits, as her mom describes it, and then she looks around and she fixates, not pronouncing it right, on different individuals in the environment or kids for a few minutes. And the mom didn't know what was going on, so we tracked it using my tracking abilities. And the mom has a lot of ability that she's working on nurturing herself. That also usually comes along as we nurture our abilities and become who we are. We can create the conditions they need. And we noticed she was just picking unwanted energies from those fields. Now, a 5-year-old child cannot in any way uh, verbalize this experience, but she's such a high frequency of being, she's just cleansing the environment. But what it needs to go through her, she needs to cleanse. She needs to know protection. She needs to know where she can do this and where she can't. Her mom needs to do, she knows how to deal with it. So there's so many different examples that we can explore. I think the point is to look at what is happening to your child. Don't label it. Don't make a big deal out of it, but create those conditions that they need. Explore with people like myself, and there's so many people like me around the world with different viewpoints and perspectives that are coming to serve. I think that's what we're doing. We're helping out in those terms, and it's a growing movement is not the right word, but it's a growing understanding. It's a growing holding that there are among us, many of them, and that they need us to shift our paradigms of viewing parenting. So it's not about decision making so much. It's about really being aware in every moment and knowing your momentary decision will change in a month as they grow, as you agree to grow with them.
Yes, I love this so much because you led perfectly into something I wanted to talk about, which was, us shifting our parenting and allowing us to let our children be themselves. And at least here in the US, I'm going to share a typical struggle, which was not typical in our house. I think it was harder for my husband than it was for me. But I wanted our daughter to be able to express herself, to not have fear in sharing who she is or being dismissed by us, if you will. Whereas the parenting style here, for the most part, is do what I tell you, right? Basically, like I'm the parent. It's very authoritarian. Not everybody, but that's the tip. That's the way I grew up, and that's the way my husband grew up. And we've always just let her have a say, and we talk about everything. We process everything together. And is this the right decision? Like we're a very talkative, processing family. And we homeschooled for 2 years through the Waldorf education, and I agree with you on that. There comes a point at which we felt like it was no longer aligned, that we outgrew what our intention was for her when it became less nature based and less oh, I don't even know how to describe it, but it became more about old, old teachings. I will just say that. We felt there was a little conditioning going on there. And so we did take her out of the in-school environment and we started homeschooling her only to find out something wasn't quite right. And during that homeschool experience, she was extremely unhappy. Whereas
Mm.
she was that kid that ran to school every day, happy to be there. And so within that, she finally was able to verbalize in sixth grade that socializing is what lights her up, that she needs to be, that's what lights her brain up and is ready to learn is when she's in community. And so that's when we decided to allow her to go back to school. But I could see in that situation, right? Somebody saying, you don't know what's best for you. I'm the parent. I'm the one who makes the decisions for you. And so, where I'm going with this is as a parent, and us needing to be more aware of our children's desires. Because, like you said, they know, my daughter knows what is perfectly right for her. And she's able to say to me, no, mom, I trust you on this one. Like you make really good decisions about this. I'm going to let you handle that one. Or, no, I feel really strongly about this. She is 14 now, so she can say that. But how do you express to parents that they can give their children that agency and that ability and to have that conversation with them when all they know maybe is an authoritarian way?
I think we all come with our internalized belief system guiding how we're acting, how we're engaging in the world, including as parents, as partners, as family holding and managers. You know, there are various aspects to that. I think one of the invitations these children offer us is that opening of our heart to the shared dance, as we talked earlier. You can't, I mean, I haven't witnessed myself somebody deciding to change their mindset and that being enough. We go back as soon as a stressful situation comes along, we go back to our automatic behaviors, what we've learned to be safe. I'm saying safe because it's what's comfortable is safe, but it's not necessarily truly safe or aligned to who we are and who our children are and what the invitations they offer us. But when we understand we want to create the conditions for our children to be who they are and express who they are and be able to know when they need guidance, sorry, and when they need our intervention and when they trust us to make a decision and when they don't feel comfortable with our decision and want to be able to have their input or make the decision for their own,
Mhm.
we need to be who we are first. So it's a journey. It's a journey. We realize that's what we want to offer our kids. So what do I need to do? What do I need to heal? And often this is a deep healing process that needs to take place. What do I need to do so that I can show up as who I am, fulfilling the promises I made for myself?
Mm.
I write about it this a lot in my second book, Universal Promises. But it's we don't know what they promised themselves. We don't know their soul's journey, and we will not know. It is something they keep a secret from themselves, as we keep our journey a secret from ourselves. So what we can do is walk the path of becoming who we are as best as we can. And we know we are where we need to be when we are joyful, when we are happy, not just empty happiness, but happiness of the journey of being, even of
Mhm.
growing, which can be really challenging. But it's, you are where you need to be, or because of signs and synchronicities that suddenly happen around us. There are many ways for us to know, for spirit to tell us you're on your way. And that is communicated to our children. It's communicated energetically. You don't need to say anything. We don't need the language for that. I'm trying to be who I am so that you can be who you are. So it is
Mhm.
less of a, we can talk about little examples like when a child says, my tummy hurts, I don't want to go, then we respect that. That's like a very literal example of how we handle, we teach them to trust what they know. But that can be very uncomfortable for us because we need to be someplace, or we promise we would show up, or we feel uncomfortable on canceling on a friend. There's so many, we're living in a complex social system that expects us to align. And that feels very uncomfortable when people like you or I'm generalizing here, but I think that's true, show up and say, oh, this doesn't work for me. I'm going to make a different decision, like taking my kids out of school. That wasn't easy for many people that we love in our community because we were
Mhm.
reflecting something that was saying
Mhm.
something is wrong here. So
Mhm.
maybe it's just our daughters, but maybe it's true for some other kids, very highly sensitive and spiritually aware as well, as I believe it was.
Yeah.
So it's not an easy process, but it's so rewarding. It is so rewarding
Beyond.
to
Yeah.
look at your child and grow with them and to
Mhm.
know that you're expanding and tapping into your possible in ways you never thought you could, just because you're trying
Mhm.
to become who you are, even not for yourself, but for your children. But it's always a whole family dance, and everybody wins from that.
Mhm.
So maybe I'm talking like more general, but
Yeah.
I hope
No.
that message is going through.
Well, we're going to get deeper. So, you said it's a whole family dance. And on our next episode, we're going to be talking about the parent-child soul agreement. So, we're going to be getting even further and deeper into all of these episodes. So, if you have really enjoyed our conversation today, definitely like, share, subscribe. All of Efrat's details will be in the show notes. She's also in our community, community.sovereign-magazine.com. She has her own community within ours called Spiritually Aware Families, and she holds special calls once a month. So if you're looking for a space to connect with her, definitely come there as well. Well, you are a wealth of knowledge, and I cannot wait for more. And we will see you on the next one.
Thank you, Nicole.